children of light, sons and daughters of light, I have come in this hour at the behest of the god and goddess Meru. I am indeed the goddess of light. Understand that this office has been accorded me for my realization in God of light unto the full God potential accorded an individual life stream. Thus the term denotes one who is a cosmic being and does ensoul the God consciousness of his office and array. Therefore I summon you to also become devotees of light. For you have heard the story of my entrapment by black magicians long ago on the continent of South America, where in an unguarded moment they did place the lower portion of my body in the lower portion of the body of a fish. And so, beloved, it required 800 years for me to remain in that body before that curse could be broken. And I did clothe myself and serve from behind a counter so that none saw the deformity of my lower part. Blessed ones, I know the value of invoking light, 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 and light's protection again and again and again. I know that there can come to any one of you an unguarded moment when the false hierarchy impostor of your divine office may come to set you apart from the path of initiation, even in the very hour and the moment when God would place upon you the mantle of that office. And so it is unto the very moment, and I said moment, of your ascension, so long as you are in these temporal spheres. This is the place, beloved, where the fallen ones may still seek and perhaps find a vulnerability. For this reason you may understand calamity and tragedy that may befall otherwise devotees of light who are constant. Yet, beloved, it takes alertness at all levels. And so when you invoke light at all levels of your being and in all of your chakras, taking care to fill in the weaker places first, you must consider that it is necessary to constantly keep the vigil. You might visualize yourself as a giant Christmas tree with a candle on every twig and little branch, so that 1,000,000 candles might burn. At each and every point of every cell of your body, remember that there is a nucleus in the atom, and there is a central sun to every cell. These are points of light. These are, as it were, manifestations of the great central sun at microscopic levels. Therefore, it is well to develop a meditation on light where you see pinpoints of light throughout the body. Thus come to understand that vibrant health within the body does help to keep the light circulating and flowing. Thus, the vibrant mind that is quick and alert, and the desire body that is truly aligned with the law of God, and whose desire is to meditate upon that law, to realize that law, to be that law, day and night. Blessed ones, I speak to you then of black magic at the behest of the god and goddess Meru, and of witchcraft, but I begin my dissertation on the subject of envy and jealousy, an often practiced form of black magic that is not seen to be so lethal. Yet I come to tell you that it is indeed lethal. For when you have something beautiful, when you have the manifestation of joy and happiness in your family and amidst your children, there are those, even those on the astral plane, and perhaps those neighbors unknown to you, or seeming friends, or relatives who have a heavy karma in your direction. And they do not have what you have, and therefore the jealousy grows within them. It grows to a hatred and to hate creation and even to anger, so that by and by, as this builds in them, as it gnaws in them, they through the evil eye may project against the beauty of your family, your happiness, your success. And you may be off guard, for you are in the joy of experiencing God's blessings and grace, and also the fruit of attainment from your own tree of life. Thus, beloved, think about the unguarded areas of your life, for as you move along the path, and the light will deflect from you much opposition and slings sent against you, especially through people's thought and feeling worlds, you will discover that in their frustration and in your continuous victories, that they begin to direct this energy against you. Beloved ones, if they respect you as adults or in your respective positions, they may not send this consciously against yourself, but they will send it against your children, or even your animals, or things you may own. This, beloved, is a very important subject because many of you have increased in light. In the first place, sufficient to warrant my coming, and in the second, sufficient to be the object of a cruel envy you may not have heretofore experienced. Beloved, there is no envy like the envy of fallen angels and discarnates, and those who have not the light, who do not serve the light, who long ago betrayed the light and took up arms against that light. Therefore, to them, anyone who is a light bearer, even the smallest child, is anathema, a curse in itself, and they cannot live until that focus, that individual, that property, or even that church is destroyed. Thus it becomes an all-consuming hatred born of their envy and born of their jealousy. Now that you have the key to light, as you have never had it before in your life, beloved ones, remember the warning of Jesus Christ, who is also very close to the heart of the God and Goddess Meru, serving as he does on the sixth ray, and serving as world teacher to those whom the God and Goddess Meru sponsor. And therefore, did the Master not say, "Thy enemies shall be they of thine own household"? Let us review, therefore, what is thine own household. The household is first of all your subconscious, as well as the thoughts and feelings of your being. All that is in the circle of your awareness is your household. And so the Master has said, you are sometimes your own worst enemy. The enemy is the pocket of poison, poisons outlined in the teachings of Buddhism. These poisons therefore block the light, and they become a point of vulnerability, whereby those who envy your light might enter your household. Therefore, whatever is within the psyche, whatever is within the self, must be seen for what it is, must be examined in each 24-hour period. You must review your thoughts and feelings, expressions of desire, kindnesses or unkindnesses, and have the sense of knowing what has fallen beneath the line of the light of the living Christ within you, and then quickly call for that to be encircled and bound, and call upon the law of forgiveness and the full power of the violet transmuting flame to erase the cause, effect, record, and memory of that deed, that thought, that word, that feeling. Be on guard, beloved ones, for it is through such a small entree that this imposition was placed upon me. This was a long time ago. We were under what you call the occult dispensation. We were required to balance 100% of our karma in the physical octave, and we were required to do so by long terms of endurance of the burdens of our karma and of working through it. And there were many black magicians abroad in the world at that time. Thus, we did not have all of the dispensations which you have in this hour, beloved, and all of the cosmic reinforcement which has come to this world in this time, principally through the great sponsorship of Saint Germain and Portia, and all who have aligned themselves with them for the bringing in of the Aquarian age. So, beloved hearts, understand that this great dispensation, in order to be sustained as you have been told, requires leadership, requires an avant-garde who will be going before the children of the light, and who will hold the flame and be watchful and be vigilant. As you can make the invocations for the binding of black magic and all who practice it, as well as for the binding of all witchcraft and those who practice it, so you will be invoking the mighty protection of Almighty God for those children of the light who know not how to invoke it for themselves. Remember this, beloved, we and millions who have gone before you have kept the flame for you until you could come to this hour and feel a certain maturity, a certain confidence in your invocations, and that you are contacting your mighty I Am Presence, and that there is indeed a response. You feel the vibration of light. You have testimony in the youth that appears in your form, and the brightness of the mind and the heart. All things around you are like the aura of springtime, and you are in a circle of light that is drawn by your angelic friends and sponsoring masters. Thus, beloved ones, as you have that sense of security that the call compels the answer, as you give testimony again and again to the intercession of Archangel Michael as he intercedes to save your very life, so know, beloved, that this has come to you by way of your own endurance through certain substances of karma, by way of your faithfulness, by way of your constancy, by way of the years that you have practiced the calling upon the name of the Lord. Know then that that momentum does count much for those who newly enter the path, who yet may have with them substance of the world, entities, etc. Therefore you see yourselves as elder brothers and sisters on the path, and you should, even as the ascended masters are your elder brothers and sisters. And you should remind yourself when you felt as a shorn lamb, and when you depended upon your father and mother, and would run to clutch their hands when the thunder and the lightning descended. Understand that there are many babes who enter this path and know not how treacherous are the fallen ones to snatch them away from the call of their mighty I Am Presence, and therefore they must level accusations of cult and all manner of charges against the person of the messenger to destroy and malign character, and therefore to discourage and disillusion those coming on the path as to the truth of the Ascended Master's teachings. Beloved ones, they have not even presumed to challenge the teachings themselves, for these teachings are ironclad, and they are written in the book of life, and they are found by all who are of the light in the retreats of the Ascended Masters. There is not one etheric retreat of the Great White Brotherhood connected with this planet, or the planet Venus, or the planet Mercury, that does not contain all of the dictations, all of the writings, all of the spoken word that has come forth from the messengers. And I tell you, millions of souls are studying at these retreats so that they may be prepared to come into embodiment and deal with the opposition to the very light that they are now determined to embody. For Jesus and Moses and Elijah and Confucius and Zarathustra and Gautama and Maitreya and Archangel Gabriel have told them that even as they have emerged out of the world's great religions, so they now come to the age of the synthesis of cosmic truth. These souls of light who proceed to the etheric octaves for the devotions they have had in their own movements, beloved ones, immediately see the planetary equation, and they see this body of light bearers holding this fortress of light against all odds and against the density of the mass consciousness, and they are shown films of Atlantis when the fallen ones controlled the masses and their mechanization man, and it also moved them against the great temples of light. And they recognize that these scenes are being replayed again, and they see how they themselves have been produced by the fallen ones and led apart and astray from the true teachings of the great world's leaders and founders of religion. Thus they desire to see you hang on and keep the light until they can come into embodiment, for their desire is nothing less than to see this world covered with his teaching and the Aquarian age come in. Beloved ones, they have heard Saint Germain say, as you have heard him say, that he was not certain that there could be a golden age of Aquarius, considering the conditions in the world today. And they have rallied with a great cry and a great shout for their own beloved Saint Joseph and Saint Germain, as they have known him in many of his previous incarnations. And they have determined that there will be and that there shall be a great golden age of Aquarius if they have anything to say about it. And they did send to me their letters when they knew I would speak to you, that I might tell you, beloved, that they are determined to take embodiment and to take up the work that you have begun and to join you. And therefore they desire you to know that though the press and the masses may move against you in this moment, that they are with you from etheric octaves, and if you will only hang on and prepare the way and prepare them room to come, they will descend and they will stand on the line of cosmic freedom, and they will fight for your beloved Saint Germain with you side by side. Thank you, beloved hearts. I desire you to know that they were applauding simultaneously as you have. Therefore, I tell you, beloved, that Helios and Vesta and Sanat Kumara and Lady Master Venus did make it possible for them to observe the great activities in the heavens and the legions of blue lightning angels responding to your calls and binding such fallen ones as have endured in their incrustations far too long upon the planet Earth. For they have remained, beloved ones, until such as you could come to the holy mountain of God, indeed the place of Mount Zion, and blend your voices for this mighty cycle of light until that momentum should reach that point where such a vast clearance could be made. Beloved ones, all of hierarchy are encouraged, but especially those who know that these things must be accomplished ere they can take embodiment. For though they are studying, beloved, they are not so sure that when they arrive that they will be fully equipped to deal with such conditions as you are. Therefore, beloved, you can see yourselves as their mentors, perhaps their fathers and mothers, perhaps their teachers, but assuredly as the helper and the comforter on the way. Blessed ones, there is hope today in heaven and on earth as never before as the result of last night's victory. Heretofore you have either been holding the line or barely holding the line. Now we see that you have gone past the line and are entering an area where we can see your calls, providing a mitigation factor on the prophecies that have gone forth. Therefore, won't you be seated that I might speak to you of these things? Mind you well that the fallen ones watch every move that is made, and they have their own dark caverns, which are their places of hiding, that are the antithesis of ascended master retreats. They have their own computers and their spacecraft, and they monitor the light bearers, beloved, with such exactitude that there is no point worrying you about it except to tell you that they do. Thus it is a time for extreme care and carefulness. It is time not to be caught off guard, for when they see the light bearers gaining this momentum, we come to the place where they have taken their decisions swiftly in their councils to disrupt the entire world order and to use their advanced technologies and their abuses of nuclear power against the people. They have maintained the watch for hundreds of thousands of years for population control on this planet and many similar planets. Therefore, beloved, understand, just as when you become wealthy, you find that you have friends and enemies you never knew before, so when you have light and greater light and greater light, as well as the sponsorship of the Great White Brotherhood, you will find the same to be true. Therefore, vigilance is never more necessary than in the moment when your light so increases as to offend even the most arch deceivers and the highest levels of the false hierarchy of the fallen ones. This is the direction in which we move, and about this subject, the beloved ones have spoken to you already in this conference. I come, therefore, to tell you that the God and Goddess Meru do hold the authority over all black magicians and the practices of witchcraft upon this planetary home. These individuals who practice the black arts are on the physical plane and the astral plane, and they are the ones who will attempt to move against your very best efforts. So as you are rising to that point of a true individual God mastery, which many of you have determined to enter into by the teachings that have already been given, so I say to you, beloved, you must remember to call to the God and Goddess Meru, and to the Manus, the sponsor of the seventh root race, the great divine director, and of Lord Himalaya and Vevasvata Manu, for these are the sponsors of the remaining evolutions on planet Earth. You must remember to call to the seven archangels and those who have sponsored sometime, somewhere, other evolutions who have come to this planet for various reasons. So it is, beloved ones, that your calls must be directed for the binding of all practices of witchcraft and black magic, and you must not neglect to call daily for the cutting free of those activities, those hexes and curses that are placed upon the elementals and the little children, to draw them out of the way of their congruency with the great filigree mandala of light that comes from the heart of the great divine director and whose patterns are woven in the veil of the cosmic virgin. Now, therefore, beloved ones, when there is a miscalculation by an individual on the path of just how much protection is needed, when there is a false sense of security and well-being, when there is not a studying and a reading of the signs of the times, and that phrase, beloved ones, must always be considered in terms of astrology. There are signs of the times which tell you what are the subtle energies that are moving in and through a planetary body. that you are not aware of until suddenly that sudden destruction cometh upon a household, and all are in awe and fright as to how such a calamity could have happened. Beloved ones, there is no such thing as a calamity or a tragedy that has not been building and in the making for a long time, according to karmic cycles and according to the plots of the fallen ones who themselves use the electronic belts of the planetary spheres and of the people against the earth plan and the light bearers of the earth. So there are momentums and pockets of misqualified energy that are vast and that are still accessible. Therefore, it is important to call for the sealing, the binding, and the encirclement of all reservoirs of darkness, of misqualified energy that these fallen ones collect to use against the light bearers. And now you understand why the seed of Satan practice human sacrifice and blood ritual, for they must take the light of the blood itself. And this light, beloved ones, gives to them an extraordinary energy when they partake of it or use of it in their rituals. Know then, beloved, that the sacred fire of the mother that is misused upon the altars of these fallen ones is also a force that can be used against life streams, causing fatal accidents and all kinds of mishaps when there was no karmic reason whatsoever except the karma of neglect to invoke light, 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 and light's protection. Therefore know whereof we have directed the messenger to bring forth the Archangel Michael tape. I stand before you so that you may meditate upon my being now and contemplate the passage of 800 years. Think of 800 years upon this continent, beloved, and where you would find it. 800 years ago, what was happening here? You think that 200 years ago is a long time, 400 years. Imagine 800 years being in prison. People are sentenced to lifetime sentences on this earth, but I was sentenced to 800 years in that body of the fish. Blessed ones, I pray that my experience, my enduring and my relentless calling to the light, my relentless love for God, my refusal to have any sense of injustice or any hate or hate creation toward the black magicians themselves, but my determination to have only light within me was the means whereby I was ultimately freed from this. And so it was the course, beloved, in that condition whereby I was well on my way, not only to becoming an ascended master, but to earn the mantle and the title of Goddess of Light. Let your infirmities and your afflictions and your limitations and especially your mistakes teach you the necessity to always be on guard. Never take chances, beloved ones, with life or protection or with shortchanging yourself on your decrees. Never take a chance that you can get away with being discordant, for there is always a breach of your force field and a resultant vulnerability. And in the time it takes you to rebuild that force field and mend the flaws and reestablish that ironclad force field of diamond shining light of God, beloved, there may be an intrusion. For make no mistake about it, the fallen ones have every manner of technology, the use of psychotronics and laser beams, to move against the light bearer. I come not to cause you fear, beloved. I come that you might be informed, that you might know. A people who has awareness, a people that is informed, may make wise decisions. And of course, then it is up to your free will. As you know, this nation has been informed again and again and again concerning her vulnerability to the potential nuclear first strike by the Soviet Union. And yet they do not wish to hear. How long will they be the prisoners then of the results of their own karma especially the leadership, beloved ones, who have not pressed forward to respond to the voice of the prophet in the land who has told them to raise up a defense, a civil defense, and ABMs. Blessed ones, I tell you, the karma for the destruction of a civilization by neglect of leadership is a frightful karma indeed, and for some who have been doing this again and again, their karma cannot be balanced. It is too vast, and thus the only conclusion of their life is the conclusion at the court of the sacred fire. Thus, beloved ones, when you know the law, you are on guard, and you watch your thoughts and feelings sent forth. You watch your vibration and mood. You would not even consider to send forth the vibration of the least depression or downheartedness or moodiness, for you know it will circle the earth, gather of its kind, and bring back to you on the morrow tenfold and more. Therefore, watch. Watch and pray, as the Lord Jesus has told you. For you must surely hold the balance and hold the fortress of light, not only up on behalf of yourselves and your children and your community, but those marvelous light bearers who simply can hardly wait to enter the portals of birth and move among you. Some have even asked for dispensations to come in their etheric bodies to join you in their decree work. Blessed ones, their petition is being considered. You might also be gratified to know, beloved ones, that the angels who are their teachers use your decree and song tapes to give them their lessons in the science of the spoken word. Therefore, as we return to the subject of dealing with black magic and witchcraft that actually does occur on every line of the clock, as people do misqualify those lines, so I would say to beloved ones that the judgment calls and the pulling of the plug on the seed of the wicked, the dispensation of Helios, should be adhered to daily. If I were in your condition today, beloved ones, having substance remaining in the electronic belt, I would not let a day pass that I did not recite with full fervor and determination the dweller on the threshold call. For that does bind that dweller for the day, clear some of it as you are able to see it, and cast it in the sacred fire, and thus seal it from any act of any fallen one that would enter in and use that momentum of the dweller against your soul. You see, beloved ones, as you have been taught, the soul is not fully merged with the Holy Christ self. When that day occurs, beloved, you see the alchemical marriage, and you see that presence of the Christ, and you have that oneness, and that Christ and the soul are one. Thus you walk the earth as anointed ones and Christed ones. Until that hour, beloved ones, the soul is not completely clothed in grace and does not have the full momentum of her Christhood, which is the only momentum that is equal to the dweller on the threshold. The dweller on the threshold, beloved, is the anti-Christ of oneself. It is the not self, but it has been fed and fed and fed by substance from your own I am presence, misqualified by you, since the first departure from the octaves of light and perfection and the entering into the compromise of relative good and evil. Thus, beloved, without the call to the Christ self or your I am presence and then the mighty archangels, the soul on her own would not be in a position in this hour to deal with the slaying of that dweller. Beloved ones, the burden upon the evolutions of light upon earth is that many of the children of the light have fallen to such a state where they, of their own selves, cannot make contact with their Holy Christ self or their I am presence. Therefore, seeing this plight of so many souls of God that Mother Mary was determined to save, the hosts of light determined to come and sponsor activities which would open the teachings of the I Am Presence and give them calls to make, whereby, through the intercession of the hosts of the Lord, that connection could be made. Where the soul, therefore, cannot hang on to the tie to the Christ self, hang on to the harmony or the threefold flame, it is the intercession of mighty angels and ascended masters who do overshadow those who decree, those who call to light, until they are able, by their momentum, to establish that connection. Therefore, you see, beloved, without the dispensation of the Great White Brotherhood or beloved Saint Germain and Portia, many souls could not have reconnected with the source of life that is real. So far were they below the levels of the astral plane and submerged in the sea of samsara. What a wondrous gift is the sponsorship of the Great White Brotherhood and of hierarchy. Now, beloved, you are surely in a position to also be sponsors, even while you yourselves have not fully embodied your Christhood. We pray that this will come quickly, and there are times when that Christ presence does truly drop around you and stay for periods. But as there is, so to speak, a disintegration of the intensity of the cloud of light in which you dwell, that Christ self must rise to the levels of the native light of that level and plane of the cosmic Christ of the spheres. Were the Christ self to remain at lower levels, beloved, it would compromise its own office, and therefore it is you who must rise and continually raise your vibrations. Thus, when you know that you are thin on prayers and thin on decrees, you are also on thin ice, and you never know when that ice is going to break. Blessed ones, this is speaking to you directly so that you can be forewarned instead of wondering afterwards what happened and why did such and such occur. You have the key and hold the key for millions to enter the path. And the millions who have the potential to become chelas of the will of God are just such chelas, just such children of the light in that flight where they cannot quite reach to their Christ self. They cannot quite reach, and they do not have yet the knowledge in outer physical awareness of the science of the spoken word. Thus, we count on you to keep the flame for them until they are able. We count on you to keep the flame for those in etheric octaves until they are able. You are surely Saint Germain's life preserver in this hour. And as you are at the nexus between heaven and earth, and as hell with death itself have not been swallowed up in victory or cast into the lake of sacred fire, therefore be aware, be vigilant, and let your life be one-pointed in the fulfillment of this mission. I tell you, beloved, many, many hearts love you, and many, many hearts are counting on you, for in your hand is the torch for which they reach. And when they come, beloved, you may indeed pass that torch. I, the goddess of light, therefore, admonish you to look for those calls that will continually remove the children of the light and the light bearers out of harm's way and bind the fallen ones who come against them. In this hour, therefore, I turn over this service to our beloved Saint Germain and Portia. May you live to rejoice to see what salvation our God has wrought through you.